Hey, welcome back to Bridges. Thank you for joining us today. We are being joined by folks who are calling your attention to what they think is a mammoth issue in the disappearance of the middle class. We're talking today to Bob Lynn, who's Secretary of Jobs for Justice, Dr. Sarah Jo Twitchell, who is from Owens Community College, and Douglas Jambard Sweet, I'm so sorry, who's the lead organizer at Move to Amend. My tongue got all twisted up there. So how do we fix this? I mean, if in fact, for people who support your position, how do you fix it? Talking about it is certainly one way to get it out there and get it on the radar of people who may be interested. But what do we do?
Well, I think we certainly, as individuals, have responsibility to be able to talk about this, to bring it up in our circles, and to be able then to bring it up to legislators to say, we're concerned about this. And our expectation is that as a representative of us, that you're going to go ahead and move forward and try to do something that. In fact, there was just a CNN poll that said the statement, the government should work to substantially reduce the income gap between the rich and the poor. And the answer was yes, by a margin of 2 to 1. So people want to talk about this. They're concerned about it. They want to bring this to the attention of our government.
Well, let's talk about that for just a second, because we are always talking about too much involvement in the government in the affairs of business, that their intrusion in the affairs of business often has a chilling effect on the ability of businesses to develop the way they want to without regulation, excessive regulation, that sort of thing. And then we come to them and we say to them, but we want you to help us fix this. Government doesn't create jobs. They create government jobs. They don't create private sector jobs. But you will see that they are not always stable jobs. When the government is in trouble, one of the things that they do first is lay off their own staff.
Well, that's what businesses do too.
Right. But the point that we are trying to make here, though, is that we want to establish good jobs for people. The government, I don't think, is the place where that happens.
Well, I would tend to
disagree. Absolutely disagree with me.
I would disagree to say that government jobs aren't good jobs.
I didn't say that.
But
I didn't say that.
You said that. You were saying that government jobs aren't
good
as
private sector jobs.
I know. There's good private sector jobs and there's good government jobs, et cetera. The only thing what we ask our government to do is hold corporations accountable, because right now nothing is holding corporations accountable. They are putting so much money into politics that they buy whatever they want. I mean, if you look at in West Virginia, we just had this, we've had the water thing where we had the coal ash that wound up in the water system in order to be able to do it. Obviously, they weren't inspected for a number of years as it went on. The only group that can go in and hold things accountable, you have to figure out what you want in a society, and that's what taxes are. Do you want to be able to drive down streets that have potholes, or do you want smooth roads? Do you want traffic lights? Do you want everything that we want in systems? What are you willing not to pay for? And we have to have a balance. And that's where I think unions have always been able, in the private sector, to be able to hold corporations accountable.
All right, let's back up just a few steps here. When we're talking about empowering a middle class, that middle class target group that we're talking about today, are we suggesting that the way to help them be stronger is to create better paying private sector jobs?
To create better paying jobs, period. And those could be government jobs, those could be private sector jobs, et cetera. Because face it, when you have police officers and firemen, teachers, all those types of things, they are all involved in some form of government.
Okay, and let's be clear, I did not say that government jobs were not good jobs, okay? Don't write me letters, I did not say that. He said that. He said I said that, I didn't say that.
I'm sorry.
All right, that's okay. But I still hold to at least my belief that what government does is develop an environment for private sector to create jobs. You are not going to have a massive increase in government jobs, as that's not where the growth is.
Well, let's look at that. What government has done and what they've done in partnership with corporations. Because what we've seen over the last 10 or 15 years is massive wave after wave of tax cuts for the wealthy. Tax cuts on capital gains, on corporate income, on estates, and on gifts. These are the kind of tax cuts that are like economic smart bombs for the rich. It basically just delivers that money straight into their coffers. And what they do with it is they influence the political process and policy. The problem here is that there's nobody, right now it's a way overbalanced in terms of the corporate influence in our government versus the public interest. And this is why there are certain concrete things that we can do as individuals to get involved. And of course,
Let's talk about that. What are
Okay.
those things?
there's a variety of initiatives, making work pay, raising the minimum wage. Okay, we can, people can work on these campaigns, work on their legislators to get, these changes implemented, to get, regulate, to get bills in the House. Things like supporting unionization and to fight back against right to work legislation that is basically a direct attack upon the working class. We can do things like increase state support for education and cap executive pay, get money out of politics. There are a variety of initiatives that individuals, just a single individual, can get involved with on a local grassroots level to really empower all of us to be able to establish, our place in the political process.
Let's go back to the Right to Work initiative. Would one of you take a moment and explain that?
Sure. Right to work is actually, it was something that was passed with the Taft-Hartley Act in 1947. And basically up until that time, they had what was called a closed shop, where in order to get a job, you had to be a union member. That was outlawed in 1947. That no longer exists. Well, what a right to work, what they did allow is what's called a union security clause. And that means that after you start working at an employer, if they have union representation, you have to join that union after 7 days or a period of time. And the reason that is because there are fees when it comes to negotiating contracts, et cetera, et cetera. And what Right to Work does, it outlaws a union security clause. That's it. That's all it does. It doesn't guarantee any more jobs. It doesn't guarantee anything that's going on there. It just says that. And I'll give you an example. Unions are basically a fraternal society, basically in that you belong to a group, you get representation, you get to do it. Some other fraternal societies or membership societies could be the YMCA. And here's the difference. I'll give you an example between the YMCA and Right to Work.
You're not,
can
okay,
watch
go ahead.
this.
Go ahead, I'll wait. I'll wait.
YMCA, basically if it was under the Right to Work, it means everybody could go to the YMCA, but anybody, you could choose whether you wanted to pay to belong to the YMCA or not, but you
Right.
could still use the facilities. In the union, you get to be represented by a union according to federal law. You don't have to pay for it, you get it free and you don't have to pay for it. So if everyone went to the Y and didn't pay to be a member of the Y, how long could the Y stay in effect? A few people would step up and pay for it, but the Y would have to be open to everybody. That doesn't seem very fair. Does that make sense?
I have no comment on whether it makes sense, but I will say that it sounds to me as though what you're saying is that the union is just trying to ensure that people who are benefiting from its services pay for those
There you
services.
go.
That's the
That's
simple
that's the simple answer.
explanation of the Right to Work.
That's exactly what it
I got to
is.
say too, just a little bit off the point, I didn't notice your advertisement for Cardinal Stritch until like 2 seconds ago. So good, good. They must be proud of you.
I'm a freshman basketball coach.
Oh, is that what that is? Go Cardinal Stritch. So Right to Work then, and we only have a few minutes left, but of all of the items that you outlined, Doug, that people could be involved in, what do you think is the most powerful? Where do you think that people...
Well, the one that's most pressing right now is Right to Work, because at the state level there are kind of a segment aligned to push this to the state level to get a bill before the state legislature, which would definitely be in favor of something like that, because it really is, when you talk about the pro-business, pro-corporate agenda, if you can do something to basically deneuter the unions, which is your main competition for policy, then you can basically do things like, establish no minimum wage, you can take away benefits, you can take away collective bargaining like they did in Wisconsin. So, all of these things are up for grabs. it really is kind of a fight for the soul of democracy when you look at it that way.
So, and there is major discussion about the country right now, in the country right now, about raising the minimum wage.
Yes.
And local initiatives going on around here?
Well, Ohio passed it several years ago. They passed a minimum wage that's now tied to COLA, and it increases every year, which is one of the things that they're trying to do at the federal level. They want to establish it and then have it automatically be done where it's not discussed. Because when when minimum wage came back in the 60s, when it was first instituted, right now if it would have kept up with inflation, it'd be about $10.10, which is what they're trying to get it to.
To get it to.
It actually
right.
might even be more than that. And the thing is, it made sense back then because anyone who can go and get it for free or get it for hardly paying anything, all laws are created to keep the people who would cheat the system from doing it. I mean, minimum wage, etc. If you don't set a basement, they
Right.
do it for free
We do it for free. It's true. We have
or less.
2 minutes left. Sarah?
Well, I guess I just think the time is ripe, for us to have some conversation about this. And I think if people come and see the film, that's a good way to get this conversation started. I want to
Totally
be
agree with you.
really clear that, what people who are involved in this movement we're not looking for equal incomes. That's not what we're looking for at all. What we're really worried about is that the income and the wealth between those who have and those who don't have as much has grown so wide. That's what we're concerned about. And I think it impedes our ability to be a democracy when we just have two people and we are missing that middle class. I think the middle class is what has made America great.
Absolutely.
And that without it, we're not going to be as strong as of a nation.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate that we don't have more time because we didn't spend time discussing the impact of having two Americas. And for me, for my own personal politics, that is what is overwhelmingly sad and of tremendous concern to me. So thank you all for being here with me this morning. And you guys remember the film Inequality for All. We'll give you a little bit more information on that when we return. We have to go away for a second, but we will be right back.